Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and I think by this point, I am utterly convinced that Sony has absolutely no idea what they're doing. I mean, on one side, we can sit here and we can praise Sony for their story-driven content because they are a leader in that field. You can make a very real argument that they are among the absolute best at that type of content. But then on the other hand, the more that I've witnessed Sony's bizarre shift to live service games, it's hard for me to come away and think that they understand. I don't think that they do. I think the now retired Jim Ryan was clueless when it comes to these type of games. And the acquisition of Firewalk Studios is among the top reasons why. So we're going to get into all of that today, but we do have a few other things to talk about as well. So let's go and get things started off with the Mega Man series. This is a little bit more on the positive side of things because a lot of people really love this series, and it's one of Capcom's most popular franchises. As a series, Mega Man has sold 41 million units, which is very impressive. But the thing is that it's been a little while since we've gotten a brand new mainline entry. In fact, if you look at the last two mainline games, Mega Man 11 launched back in 2018. And prior to that, Mega Man 10 launched in 2010. So in a nearly 15-year period, we've only gotten two mainline Mega Man games. I'd say that that's a little bit disappointing, and it definitely feels like maybe Mega Man isn't quite as important to Capcom as what it once was. But according to them during a shareholder Q&A, they're looking to change that. Check out what they said. They said, Mega Man is one of our highly valued IPs, and we are considering how to create games for it on an ongoing basis. So, from the sounds of it, no, this doesn't necessarily mean that a new Mega Man game is currently in development. But the good news here is that they are at least thinking about how they can bring it back and be more consistent with it. So when we do eventually get a new Mega Man game, based on this comment, there's actually a pretty good chance that more will follow and it won't go on another long hiatus like we've seen these past 15 years. And I think that is absolutely great to hear. I mean, for that matter, in my opinion, I honestly believe that all of these big publishers needs smaller games like this in their catalog. I don't really like the idea that every game needs to be some big AAA blockbuster that's in development for like 5+ years. It's nice to see smaller games come from these big publishers as well that can release a little bit more consistently. And if you have a beloved IP that you don't need to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to develop, then I'd say absolutely. Utilize it and take advantage of it. I kind of feel like Nintendo is really one of the only big publishers that truly understands that. But hey, it's nice to hear that Capcom sees the importance of something like Mega Man, and hopefully they back their words up with actions. Maybe we can finally get that new Mega Man sooner rather than later, and maybe it'll kind of be a mainstay going forward. Now, we also got an update for the long-awaited Valorant for consoles. I mean, this has been one of the most popular PC games since its release back in 2020. So console fans have been waiting for a very long time to play it themselves, and according to a new leak, that wait is almost over, and rather imminently for that matter. This is coming from Ecstasis TV, which has had a strong recent track record with leaks. He was also linked to the recent Modern Warfare 3 Game Pass release date leak, which was absolutely correct. Now, even still, I would still recommend taking this with a grain of salt until 100% proven, but according to him, Valorant is slated to release for the Xbox Series and the PlayStation 5 this week on July 26th. So, I mean, there you go. And if this is true, we should get an official announcement at really any time now. And this will be a huge thing just considering its popularity on PC. I mean, we'll see if that popularity translates to console, but we might not have to wait too long to find out. Now, speaking of multiplayer games, though, let's go ahead and talk about PlayStation. We need to talk about Sony and their shift to live service games. This is something that the now retired Jim Ryan really believed in. He 100% believed that live service games are the future and that PlayStation needs to make it a top priority. So, he went out and he took PlayStation's budget and he invested more than 50% into live service projects. This has been beyond a top priority for them. That means he signed multiple third-party partnerships. That means he shifted several first-party studios and their resources to work on live service games. And that means he acquired multiple live service studios. The more this strategy has unraveled, though, the more that it's become clear to me that he had zero idea what he was doing, to the detriment of PlayStation's pipeline of games. We've heard all year long about how Sony's first-party lineup has been a little bit slow for the PlayStation 5, and this here is one of the reasons why. I mean, before we even get into their latest blunder, let's just go and rewind for a moment and look at some of the results that came from his decisions. I always said this about Jim Ryan. I know he's got some defenders out there, but the success that PlayStation had while he was CEO, that did not come from him. That came from Sean Layden's decision and the games that he greenlit prior to Jim Ryan. But let's take a look at some of Jim Ryan's decisions specifically. He believed in live service games, so he went out and he signed a partnership with a brand new studio that had some Call of Duty veterans, Deviation Games. They have since shut down. He went out and signed another partnership with Square Enix to get exclusive rights for Foam Stars out of all games. They wanted their own Splatoon, I guess, and it miserably failed. They signed another exclusive deal to get Destruction All-Stars exclusively for the PlayStation 5. And as you might have guessed, it miserably failed. Now, so far, these are just third-party partnerships. But no, it doesn't stop there, because there's also first-party failures like The Last of Us Part 2 Factions that never made it to the market after years of promises. After years of development and wasted resources, they said, nah, we're shifting back to what we're good at. Single-player games. There was also a Twisted Metal live service project that was canceled earlier this year. And according to past reports, there were other live service cancellations within Sony these past few years. They had other third-party partnerships that were working on live service games that didn't pan out. But even then, we're still not finished with his live service decisions. Jim Ryan also thought it was important to invest money into live service acquisitions. Of course, they acquired Bungie for billions of dollars. I still, so far, think that they bought them at too high of a price. But okay, to be fair here, we'll see what happens in the long run. Bungie, at the very least, has potential based on their past track record. Now, they've had some problems post-acquisition, but their recent expansion has been a little bit better received, and, we'll kind of see how that works out for them going forward. But then there's Firewalk Studios. And that there brings me to why we're talking about this today. Concord is their next big first-party game, and it's set to release next month on August 23rd. And by this point, there is a very, very real possibility that this game will be dead on arrival. The online reaction to its first reveal gameplay trailer has been absolutely catastrophic at best. As of this recording, on PlayStation's YouTube channel, its trailer has been viewed 583,000 times with 73,000 dislikes to just 6.7 thousand likes. To say the reaction has been bad is probably an understatement here, and it's only gotten worse as they've revealed more. I mean, just today, they announced that there will be no battle pass and that it will have a more traditional progression system to unlock cosmetics. They will also release new free gunners, new maps, and new modes in future seasons at no additional cost. And while that might sound like a good idea, the comments are filled with people telling them to delay the game to 2025. By this point, fans are not confident in its release, and they're calling for some major changes when it comes to this game. Honestly, there seems to be non-existent excitement for Concord. Its open beta, which was available to everybody on PlayStation and PC, couldn't even hit 2,500 peak players on Steam. This is a multiplayer live service game that completely relies on its community, and it couldn't even reach 2,500 players. Well, okay then, it might have a low concurrent count, but what about the people that played it? Do they actually like this game? And, well, if you look at PlayStation's user reviews, it had a 2.67 overall score. So even when it comes to the people who played it, for the most part, it doesn't exactly seem like they were thrilled by its experience. Here's the thing. Concord is a hero shooter, so it's already in a crowded, very competitive market. I mean, we just talked about Valorant coming to consoles, so there's definitely steep competition to compare it to. But even then, hero shooters heavily rely on their characters and their likability. That's one of the main reasons that Overwatch took off. People loved its characters. But because of the decisions that they've made with Concord, a large portion of consumers out there don't even like its characters. So when I think about all this, just to kind of get everything straight here, Sony saw this game and they internally thought to themselves that Concord looks so good that they need to outright acquire Firewalk as a studio so they can lock this game down and their future games as well. That's how confident that Sony was in this product. They signed off on everything that they saw. And the thing is, they bought them just last year. So it's not like they based that decision on an early view of what this game will be. No, they saw Concord late in development and they still signed off on a buyout. I'm just going to say it again. I am convinced that Sony has no idea what they're doing with live service games, and with all of their live service cancellations and lackluster end results for most of the games that has made it to the market, this has hurt Sony's pipeline of internal games. I mean, we've even heard that their own internal first-party studios have been concerned about this live service shift. And before I go any further, I'm going to go and say this. I'm not against Sony doing live service projects. In reality, and I've said this in the past before, I think that they should take a chance on some live service projects. The problem that I have is that I just don't agree that it should be the majority of their budget. Sony is a great single-player studio, and they've had a lot of success there. We can't say the same thing when it comes to live service. Historically, this is something that Sony has struggled with. But knowing that, Jim Ryan still decided to put most of their budget towards those type of games. I just think that when you look at their history, and you can see it here with Concord, Sony just does not have a good eye to spot good live service projects on a consistent basis. Now, to be completely fair, though, they did succeed with Helldivers 2, and I want to give them that. But even when it comes to that game, they somehow still managed to mess up post-launch with the PSN requirement fiasco on Steam. And that really hurt that game. I mean, we'll see what type of success it has in the long run. It did have a massive start, to say the least, but I can't really say that I'm confident that Concord, out of all games, is going to have that type of success. I mean, I guess we'll see what happens, but let me know what you all think about all this. Do you think Sony messed up with this shift to live service games, or do you think that Concord will come out and be a surprise hit? I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll surprise us all, but let me know what you all think in the comments below. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode. But until next time, subscribe and peace out.